Get me? I'm at Best Buy.
Hello, and welcome to our inaugural episode of Jail Time, our podcast where we break down the involvement of Jay Wilds to the tragic murder of Hae Min Lee on January 13th, 1999. I'm your host, Max Dasher, and these are our co-hosts, Alexander Davidenko and Bo Conley.
Hey, how's it going?
What's up?
I'm doing pretty well, so let's get into it. Alex, can you give us a short biography of Jay?
Sure. Jay Wilds was a Woodlawn High School student, petty weed dealer, acquaintance to Adnan Syed, and the first and only person to recount every event leading up to, during, and after the murder of Hae Min Lee.
Right. He claims Adnan murdered Hae, then both of them buried the body. His story seems solid. Too solid, almost. Where this goes awry is when he's asked to tell the story again multiple times.
Every time he tells the story again, it changes. A major change is where he claims Adnan showed him Hae's body. At first, he claims Adnan showed him the body on Edmondson Avenue, but he later pivots to saying it was at Best Buy. He later explains this by saying, I figured there was cameras there or somebody had spotted him doing what he was doing. As Sarah Koenig points out in Serial, this makes no sense. He was already involved, criminally involved. The only reason he would say this is because he was either worried they would see him help Adnan or kill Hae himself.
But how would Jay benefit from saying multiple locations?
By Jay not giving an exact location, he can sound like he has more alibis in court. But what he didn't realize was that multiple alibis makes him seem more suspicious.
There's even more evidence relating to the Best Buy. Jay claims that Adnan called him at the Best Buy through a payphone. Jay said that in this call, Adnan told him that Hae was dead. He also claimed to know the location of the payphone at the Best Buy. Strangely enough, when digging up old photos of this particular Best Buy, there was no payphone in sight. At least, not where Jay claims it was. When interviewing different Best Buy employees, Sarah Koenig says, "The Best Buy employees I talked to did not remember a payphone back then. We spoke to the landlord and to the property manager, and they had no record of a payphone. On top of that, when looking at the store's blueprints, there was no payphone to be found. Why would Jay lie about this? Maybe it was because there was no payphone or Best Buy to start with. Adnan claims that they never met at Best Buy. This leads me to believe that Jay lied about the Best Buy payphone, which puts him as a suspect, at least in my eyes."
So if he lied about the Best Buy, then where did the trunk pop actually happen?
That would mean that he lied about both the trunk pop locations, so nobody really knows where the trunk was popped. One major piece of evidence is the location of the car. Jay was the only person who knew where the car was located. How would he know where it was if he didn't do it? On top of this, another incriminating piece of evidence is that the car was recovered on a grassy lot that was used for parking. Supposedly, it would have been sitting there for 6 weeks. During this time, there were winter storms like snow and ice, and it was nasty. But her car was perfectly clean. This is indisputable evidence that Jay is guilty because this means Jay moved the car to make Adnan more guilty and him seem more trustworthy.
So, how does the grass really mean anything?
The grass proves that he moved it, because if the car was there for a whole month, the grass under the car would have been dead, but it wasn't.
Another major piece of evidence against Jay is his overall nonchalant and leniency towards the entire situation. Based on what many friends of Adnan and Jay, and even Adnan and Jay themselves claim, that they weren't very close. They were acquaintances at best, so why would he easily help this acquaintance bury a body? Well, he claims that Adnan would have sent gangs after him and his girlfriend. But, as many have said, how about making an anonymous call then? You could have done it right after he showed you the body as you were leaving the Best Buy parking lot. Jay had a golden opportunity to call the police and report Adnan, but he chose not to. This leads me to believe that the story might have been made up.
So, if all of this evidence is true, what conviction do you think Jay should get?
Well, because of all this evidence, plus many others not discussed in this podcast, Jay Wilds should stand trial and be convicted for the crime of premeditated murder in the first degree and be sentenced to a life in prison.